Welcome to OnScreen English with Steve Marshall. Lesson 9 is on would and used to. We use would and used to when we talk about finished past habits. Here are 4 sentences. A. I used to visit my grandma every Sunday afternoon. B. I used to live in Nairobi when I was a child. C. I would visit my grandma every Sunday afternoon. However, D is not possible. You cannot say I would live in Nairobi when I was a child. Why are sentences A to C possible, but not sentence D? Look at the verbs in pink. We can use used to with action verbs and state verbs. However, we can only use would with action verbs. Here's the form for sentences in the affirmative, negative, and question forms. I'm going to start with used to in the affirmative. I is the subject. Next we have used to. Then you can have either an action verb like visit or a state verb such as live. Negative. I didn't used to live in New York. And the question form. Didn't you used to live in New York? For both of these we use used to. Notice we're using used to without the D. The affirmative and negative forms for would are formed as follows. I is a subject, then you have would or wouldn't, and then you have an action verb only. For the question form, would or wouldn't comes at the beginning of the sentence, followed by the subject. Then we have an action verb, visit. Here's a task for would and used to. Decide if the verb in brackets below is an action or state verb. Write a sentence using used to or would if it's an action verb, or write a sentence using used to if it's a state verb. There's one question and one negative. Let's look at the verbs first. Number 1, like, is a state verb. 2, play is an action verb. 3, enjoy, a state verb. And 4, speak, an action verb. And the sentences. Number 1. I used to like science fiction. 2. I would or used to play outside every day. 3. Did you used to enjoy junk food? 4. I didn't used to speak English at school. Here's a summary of the lesson. We use would and used to describe finished past habits, things you don't do anymore. For action verbs, you can use used to or would. For example, I used to or I would visit my grandma every Sunday when I was a child. Visit is an action verb. For state verbs, you can only use used to. For example, I used to live in Nairobi when I was a child. Live is a state verb. And here are the 2 negative forms. I didn't used to live in New York City. That's the used to negative. And I wouldn't go swimming very often when I was a kid. The would negative. Questions. Did you used to live in New York? Did with used to forms the used to question. And would your parents read stories to you when you were a kid? Would followed by your parents, the subject, for the would question. Be careful not to confuse 2 forms of used to. Here are 2 sentences. I used to live in Nairobi, and I'm used to living in big cities. The first sentence is a past habit. The second sentence means I'm accustomed to living in big cities. We form this second sentence using am, used to, and verb plus ing. The time idea is present rather than past. Thank you, that's all for now. If you'd like to see the next video in the series, OnScreen English Lesson 10, Will Future for Predictions, just click on the link.